Sweet.
Excellent.
Episode 74. Not 75. 74. With 21 questions.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another eventful Tech Tuesday. Last week was a Tech Tuesday where we filmed it and talked about some questions and gave some answers. This week, we're going to talk about some questions and give some answers. As fun as that is, that is the reality. So if you guys really want something answered or have a suggestion for us, drop them in the comments. Don't be shy. Because as you know, I'll read anything. Well, maybe not anything. I'll read a bunch of stuff.
No, it's true.
Sometimes you got to censor them a little bit. Sometimes you got to be like, I can't say that on camera. That happens.
It is true.
That is true.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Tech Tuesday.
74.
74. My name's Ben.
I am Timothy.
And we are doing exactly what Tim said, answering questions for the people. But before we begin, Tim,
yes.
This wonderful morning.
Yes.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any quibbles, maybe statements, maybe even fashion statement tips before we jump into the questiones?
Yeah. So anyways, if you're working on your mid-70 Cessna and you're doing the oil filter and you're actually hooking up the safety wire, it's about 7 twists per inch is the standard on that. And then you need, I'd say, I usually go with about 6 before I do the little, loop back. So just, food for thought.
The word there is if.
Yeah, if you're doing your safety wire. Yeah, I like safety wire.
Yeah, my Cessna doesn't exist. I don't know if any of you guys also have a non-existent Cessna.
Yeah.
So the word is if.
If you're doing it. If you're...
Maybe it's somebody else's Cessna.
That's generally what I do. I never work on
maybe it's maybe it's other people's Cessnas.
Well, it's like, if you're doing like flight school stuff, it's like every 50 hours it needs, decent oil service and there's some other checks to do. And all that
That's
whatnot.
Fair. Cool. All right. Very good. We'll jump into the questions. First one up is Don Daughter. He says, I told Bill from the Old Man's Garage to contact you guys. He's having a problem with his Nitrous controller getting interference with his MSD ignition box. I said you guys have an awesome ignition system. Carburetor and NOS small block Chevy. Yeah, I guess that would work with a Hall effect, or not Hall effect, high roller.
Yeah, you can do a Hall effect too, but yeah, just High Roller Pro. That way it has all the features like Rev Limiters and retards for nitrous and whatnot. I'd go with that route. They're cost effective too. I like messing with them. I've done a few videos with them. Yeah. I would love if we get all this tuning video stuff out the way so I can then do like a master class on the ignition boxes, because I got a couple of nitrous kits laying around. I'm going to put one on my van at some point later this year as that progresses, and why not put a 100 shot on a crusty old van? That'll be a hoot. What I'm going to do, blow motor up? I've got like 20 of them things.
Are those new glasses?
No. Same ones I always wear.
They're blue.
Yes. They're blue with a little bit of red.
Red.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. That's true.
I did not know that.
They even got a scratch-resistant coating I had to pay ridiculous money for.
I thought your glasses were black. And you'd think, with all the times I'd watched Tech Tuesday. Anyway.
I'll read a few. Robbie Hobbs 93. I want to see more videos and reviews of the Joker system. Me too. They filmed a bunch. Had Bradley put one on so Reed can film it. That was a hoot. I think that worked real. Actually, the engine runs a lot better. I thought I had a cylinder down. Now it runs like a champ now because we went multiport. There's something funny going on. I think it was with that nasty old truck intake we had on there. Switched it over, did a thing, ran like a champion. There's a few other people that's going to be putting Joker systems on. So, yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more videos and reviews here in the near future because, we really like Multiport. And one of the things we realized is the fact we have a very affordable package as compared to the rest of the industry when it comes to the small block Multiport stuff. Even got some Mopar stuff going on. So you guys are going to see a bit of a YouTube influx and some Facebook messages and whatnot, posts as they are. About wildcard and Joker stuff. I thought about doing a wildcard on a personal project just for a bit of fun, but really depended on a lot of things. I might have them film it too because it's a wildcard. I know we did one on our engine run stand, and I've had it on a few vehicles. I think our Mustang has one right now. But I think it'll be a pretty solid one because that's going to be a driver. You know what I mean? That's going to be around for a while.
Yep. We have one wild card planned here this week, and then we also have the preliminary stuff with the
Party
stuff. It's not on the books yet, but I need to do that.
Yeah. So I'll blaze through a few more questions here. J Welch - Bravo 5 Delta. Thanks for Tech Tuesdays. Big help. We try. And we try to answer all this stuff. Yep. Sometimes we miss one. Sometimes we can't read one. Sometimes I physically can't read one because I forgot my glasses. But it is what it is. Car Camp. What it do, baby? What it do indeed. I like that guy.
I do too. Jam 3210.
What's the new handheld update from 424 about? There's no description for it. That we're going to have to yell at our e-commerce guy for not putting the changelog up when he posted it. That's going to be a new thing. So you'll see every time there's a new thing, there's going to be a changelog of like, we updated this. So it gives people a better idea of, do you really need to do an update or not? I've got a system that's so old, it's in like monochrome. So, and it runs fine. It runs like a champion. I tuned the thing and it's fine. I've got several tens of thousands of miles on it. I never need to update it because that particular system has no extra features that I need. So when it comes to that, I want to start really pushing to remind them to add that change log. Because what we used to do was we'd put one out, leave it on the site, and we'd just post it on Facebook. Now we're going to start actually incorporating that into the page. So whenever it's like new, flashy, whatever version 523, firmware offers these features and functions. I think the last one from about a month ago was incorporation of EGT in Kill Shot and Jackpot, and changed some of the calibration stuff for initial startup to be a bit better.
Yep.
And that's pretty much sums it up.
Yep. But we will also still update the one on Facebook.
Usually one or two items. Some of them are very insignificant background things.
Do you know what the last one was about? Oh, is that what that is? In April?
Probably. I've got a new version I'm testing right now that allows you to see on a HD handheld. Allows you to see the data logger so far, which is that video I sent you guys the other day. So
I can't remember what.
When I get done with that
EGT
and it's
came
get to
out.
its final form, there'll be a little video short about the data logger thing. You guys will, I'm sure, blaze me in the comments for having such a dirty vehicle, but it's a test vehicle.
I actually think it'll be more of a. It's a Tech Tuesday question answered, so I think it'll be good. Jamie Spradlin,
8504, round body is my favorite. 48 Chevy panel, facts. That's dope. Car Camp.
Oh yeah, all of the arguments that you started.
As you know, I'm not shy from an argument. Car Camp, OBS and square body is not the same. Changed my mind. Let's see. Brookat, Aode 470 trans controller going to be an option in the future. I've brought it up several times that I've been collecting this information. I've purchased a few transmissions personally. And we need to stick them in something to do something. I think I want to put an AOD or 4R70W in that Mustang if I got the right bell housing pattern for it, because I got so many different varieties for dumb reasons. But I'll see if I got one that fits, because that's something I want to kind of push. I'm going to probably revamp the harness myself and kind of trick it into working, and then push that information up so it's a lot less work for the programming guys. That way they can just be like, okay, this, that, and the other. Because they have all the other information. I've been sending it on a steady basis. It's just, that's not a super hot item, but it is something we'd like to develop into. Because it's just a bit of wiring harness and some programming. But we keep all our engineers currently busy on future stuff. We got a whole thing going on. It's really good. But William Brown Photography 8338. I've been wondering if you guys are going to add some customization layouts of the gauges. It would be cool if I could add to the background picture, but put a picture of my car or bald eagle or something like that. No, yeah, that's a definitely a future thing. That's been in many meetings about customized gauge layouts. We actually, I believe, if I remember correctly, in a meeting, we actually hired a new GUI engineer or graphic user interface engineer that does stuff like this one thing we're making, and then some of our other things we're making, and then graphics in the background as it goes.
No, it's true. I don't know if it will be possible except on the newer generations of handheld, like the new 5-inch handheld.
For the older ones, there might be some preloaded stuff
yeah,
you can kind of select from.
But I don't think
newer ones, the new HD Gen 3 stuff will be a thing.
Mm-hmm. Craftwork MC question for you, for the guys, and thanks for the knowledge. Is there a way to use the Joker or Wildcard standalone kits with a configuration for the 2.34 turbo coupe engines by just adapting sensors and using 4 of the 8 injectors? Thanks for all the previous tips, advice, support, and hope some of the forum support in the future.
Yeah, forums are cool. They're a bit dated, honestly, because most people are doing it through social media in a new format of what the forums are now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't been on a forum for years because it's just a whole bunch of people giving crazy bad information. But what we hope to do on our site for forum-related stuff like this, and I will get to the actual question here, just got to bear with me. I've wandered off into the woods. We'll probably have more of a internal ACES forum, kind of like on the page itself, where people can go look up topics, and we got a little bit more control over getting rid of the unnecessary comments or inappropriate ones. We'll probably leave some spicy ones or funny ones, but some of the stuff that's just way off in the left field is just nah. As for using a wild card or a Joker in a configuration of a 2.3 turbo coupe, I had a 2.3. I think I still do somewhere. I got a couple. I got an Ego Boost laying around. That's not really going to be a thing for those particular systems, but you might see a new adaptation for the jackpot system to be able to handle a 4, 6, 8 type situation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think
it comes down to crank trigger and strategy. That's a big thing. But yeah, that's the same meeting that the customization stuff, and that's what we run into as well, because we want to also handle that market. We got straight 6 stuff out the wazoo.
Yep.
Been talking about.
Yep.
You know what sells more worldwide than LS stuff? 2JZ stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I like
that. Very true.
I have a 2JZ.
Very true.
It's a hoot.
Matt Noel 580. First question. On the jackpot, can you wire the launch blue wire to be used with the trans brake on a turbo 400? Also, I know Tim mentioned it before. I don't remember if it was in a short, but how do you tell if you need a resistor in the wire that goes to the alternator?
Oh, double whammy. Trans brake, so you got to be careful what solenoid you're using when you're using that launch blue wire, because of when that coil desaturates, that energy has to go somewhere. Sometimes it goes right to your ECU. One of our competitors had a huge problem with the system that rhymed with Blurminator extra. Because what people were doing, they were putting a big, nasty solenoid on and just smoking an ECU and not understanding. So if you're going to be tying those things together, you really want to try to use something like a solid-state relay. That way it has a little bit of flyback protection as it goes. Or you can do some other tricky stuff with a set of solid-state relays to get that thing wired in to make sure it's giving the correct signal to the ECU to just do its work. When it goes into the resistor of the alternator, if you start the vehicle up, you have the alternator hooked up, but it's only seemed to be doing about 11.8 volts. Fuel pump is underperforming. The injectors are doing funny stuff. Your O2 sensor ain't coming on live because of not having adequate voltage to do all those things. What you run into is you see just a lower than normal voltage. You throw some resistor in there, which drops the voltage at where the alternator sees it, which will cause it to react accordingly and charge a little bit more. So most people use a 470 to 560 ohm resistor in line, especially if you're doing like the 4-pin single wire GM alternators.
Yep. Sweet.
Yep.
Ant-Man 993. Can we get a wire to turn on a fan when the AC is on? There's a wire and the loose harness just waiting to be useful.
It's there.
I think it's there. Yeah.
So we answer this about once a month on this.
Mm-hmm.
It's an AC in wire, right? So it has like the 12 volts from the AC. Whenever you push the button and it says AC on, it triggers the ECU to turn the rev wire or AC fan wire on a loose harness into a ground trigger. So you can tie it to fan number 1, fan number 2, or a standalone fan, as long as you're using it on a relay to trigger that relay. That's it.
Yep.
No worries.
Yep. Go Wild 9405. Info on dual Killshot 2 said available early spring.
Waiting for the actual production throttle body to come in so I can stick it on something. We can make some content and then demystify everything for everybody else and try to make a better calibration. That's all I'm waiting on, is physically the product to test and play with. Then they'll come up with a release date and make some hyped up social media about some stuff. You know, Reed put his work in with making some really nice, cool things for it. But yeah, it's tumbling down the pipe as we speak. I'm just awaiting a little bit.
Yep.
There's a patch cable and a second throttle body. I got to come up with some linkage to figure out how it works so I can give some examples to some folks.
Yep. But there are a lot of people asking about that for sure. Thinking of Ted specifically. I have to get back to him
Ted's
too.
One of them. We got a local guy. We got this sweet Mopar here local, and the guy was like, put it on there.
Yep.
Do some tests and make some cool videos. I think it's in like the Grab 'em Green or Get 'em Green or some Mopar color. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's definitely 70s big body car with a big nasty motor and some dual quads on top, and I'm looking forward to filming that. And I will use fender covers.
Yep. I don't have an exact date on that.
No, not yet. We just got to do the rest of it first. We can't just go on. It's lots of factors in that.
Yep. Groovy Conlin. Groovy Conlin.
Right on.
Is it possible to put a Rev Limiter in a 2-step configuration? Installed the Killshot Pro Command Center Blackjack Pro Distributor and coil. Car runs great, but is hard to start when hot, and when it does start, it idles high for an excessively long time, about a minute, before it idles down. Any thoughts?
Depends on how excessively long it got going on there. The 2-step, not so much, unless you use an ignition box or the Royal Flush. The Killshot has a maximum engine RPM, but it didn't have a 2-step configuration, unfortunately. But you can also add in the High Roller Pro and make that a thing. No big worry. It's not too much money. It's a few $100, but at least you'll get all that functionality and a little bit hotter spark too, especially if you're trying to actually get down the quarter mile and put all the Civics to shame out there in the world. Or V6 Mustangs with 5.0 badges on them. Please stop that. I thought I was in a race into Tahoe, and I straight got this dude, and I was like, what? Nah, Tahoe's not fast. 161 horsepower, and I walked all over this cat. I mean, I don't promote any kind of activities like that, but
yeah, we don't condone those things.
When I was
Publicly.
I was on I-75's drag strip the other day. But let's see. Hot start, right? Look at your ECT. There's an enrichment for ECT. You might be having a bit too much fuel, causing too much fuel on startup, or you don't have enough air. So you can look at your park air versus ECT, add some more air in that temperature range, or you look at your fuel enrichment versus ECT to see if you don't have just too much fuel in there whenever you're starting that thing up. If you got too much fuel, what it will do is it will elevate the idle a bit, because it's going to have to be, the IAC is reactive to the fuel. So the more fuel, the more IAC is going to be open, the higher your timing. I mean, the lower your timing, the higher your idle, the wider open your IAC is as compared to fuel. So you got too much fuel, you get too much air, the timing is going to try to retard itself if you're using timing control. And until it calms down, you're going to be running like 4 or 5 degrees of timing with an IAC value of about probably 60 plus, with a pulse width about 0.5 higher than it should be. It's just my guess. And then it slowly comes back down, and it might oscillate a little bit when it comes back down because it's overcorrected at that point.
Yep. Who knows, Ka?
Oh, yeah. Lokar. ES4 L80
Wow.
CM ES shifter. Thanks for the info on that, by the way. GM 4-lighter 12-inch single shifters I want to use. Cool. That gives me something to look up when I get back to the office. Thanks.
Yeah.
You don't remember what that's about, do you?
I remember it from the last Tech Tuesday, but
I was just waiting. I was waiting for it.
I wouldn't know.
That's actually on my list of things to look at. Mark Hughes, 4674. would we be able to get an app to do data logging from our phones? I don't see why not. Let me email somebody about that. Sounds good.
Yep.
MGP Customs 4494. Tim, square bodies ended in 1991. Open to replies. I can't wait to see the replies.
I'm telling you.
Half-ton and three-quarter-ton trucks ended in 1987, so mostly true. They had an electric carburetor on that one. Then correct, to my point, square bodies ended in 1991. I don't know.
You opened it with, I might start, not arguments. These aren't arguments.
You got OBS and you got square bodies. I have a bunch of each.
It's always stoking the fire.
Why not?
I'm just kidding.
Benjamin, of the car people, if you're not arguing with your car people about car stuff and giving your buddies a hard time about the proper way to do this, you'll invent stuff that you know is incorrect just to get a rise out of people.
Yeah, it's called 10 out of 10 rage bait. That's exactly what it is.
100%.
It's rage bait is what it is.
Well, there's also a marketing strategy that goes into that too.
Well,
if you can start an art like on my TikTok, because my TikTok blew up a while back.
I know
what I did. About. I started an argument in the comment section, and I kid you not, I got like 7.4 or 7.2 million views. Just because I'd said something, I was just being funny, but the guy didn't think I was being funny at all. He thought I was being extremely serious. Oh, come on, man. Chill.
You get other people in there doing the thing, but I'm good. But no, it's cool though that I don't know.
But it is a
knowledge.
Debate. People, younger generation guys are thinking OBS trucks are actually square bodies, and that irritates me because I'm like, no.
I don't have an opinion.
I got a 78 four-wheel drive, short bed, solid axle with leaf springs, 383 with a 400, and I think it's an MP 205 or 208 straight cut gear transfer case. It sounds like the apocalypse going down the road. I can't quite hear it over the knobby tires, but
no,
never drive it. I just drive the Tahoe everywhere.
No. Okay. Jeep Bum says, I've got a 1974 Ford 302 with a kill shot. How much to swap over to Multiport? Well, if you've got a kill shot, you're probably just going to go the whole 9 yards, except the fuel delivery system, because you're probably just fine if you've got one that's running the kill shot. So it could be anywhere from around $800, $900 for just a standalone system, if you've got all the pieces and parts for everything else. But for a full top-end kit, you're probably looking anywhere from 16, 17. Most you'll spend is about $2,000.
Yeah, so. But there's a whole lot of benefits with going multi-port straight up. If you've got other plans for your car, mostly like what I did, I bought a kill shot for a hot rod type situation, and I drove it around for 6 or so months, and I'm selling it to a friend of mine, and then went multi-port because I needed bigger injectors and all that. So a whole lot of cost mitigation in there as well. But looking in hindsight, I should have just went with a Joker right out the gate, because I would have had all that lower horsepower drivability, and then when I got new heads, and then I got a different cam, and then because race car. I should have just went with the Joker right out the gate, because I ended up spending a lot more money on the back end of slowly putting this thing together. I should have just bought a crate motor, put a Joker on there, and stuck it in the car and left it alone, because I actually would have netted more horsepower and torque, and I would have saved a whole bunch of personal time. And it's way more fun.
Each his own.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I
build a good motor. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I think for the most part, our trajectory as a company has been more so looking at carburetor conversions with the TBI kits, whether that be Royal Flush with the CDI box or Killshot Classic. We just had a hyper focus essentially on those TBI units. And then as of this year, and one of the things you can do is check out the Timeless Summer 80s themed sale, which has a bunch of stuff
I hope we
in
make
there
a t-shirt for that.
We are in the process of that as well.
Nice.
But I think our overarching goal, though we haven't really said it very much, is that we want people to run multi-port although it's more expensive, although there's more pieces and parts, you'll have a better running condition with multiport. And I think that's well known in the industry to an extent, but we don't say that as much.
No,
or more tunability. Maybe I should say it that way.
There's a bit more tunability, a lot of benefits to running multiport, but some of the data that I look at is, we get a whole lot of people that buy our TBI system, which is a fantastic system, and we got a bunch of different ones for all different levels of builds and budgets.
Yep.
But some of these people should have went multiport right out the gate, and then they didn't know we had that selection of multiport for their car, and that's really what they wanted at the beginning of it. Now
that's a very good point.
Because they're pushing 700 horse, which is a little bit above our parameters on the TBI system. They should have just went with a Joker and some big fat injectors and just sent it. But they didn't know it because previously we didn't really push the marketing out there saying like, hey, we got this too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they look at the multiport system and they're a little bit gun shy from it because of the other competitors out there having a ridiculous price tag on these things because they're not fast movers. But if you market it at a reasonable price and you let people know, it's like, hey, for a bit more money, this is a solid option that does really cool stuff.
Yep.
I would buy it.
You have different intake options. You have EV1 and EV6 connections, possibly even Multec in the future. You have Hall effect distributors already included in the kit, so you get a cleaner. I mean, you have to have it anyway, but the cleaner signal. It's more expensive, and I think that's what the turnoff is for the most part when it comes to multiport. But genuinely, there's a reason for it.
Yeah, but we're like half the price of everybody else.
Correct, and that's a fantastic point as well. So, not to make this about a sales thing, but to just answering his question, that is just the reality that we've seen. So
it's just facts, Jack.
Yep. All right, sounds good. Tech Tuesday in the books for episode 74. That means 75.
Yeah,
is next week. 75.
Well,
we've been doing this a couple times.
That's 3/4 of something. It's 3/4 race cam season, y'all. If y'all could tell me what a 3/4 race cam is, I would greatly appreciate that. Put it in the comments, because I keep hearing people talk about a 3/4 race cam.
Indeed.
Is that a lift situation?
I have no idea.
Is that like overall lift? I don't know.
No.
Send it.
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to know the facts.
Yes. Guys, thank you so much for sticking with Tech Tuesday, watching this episode of Tech Tuesday. If you liked it, feel free to leave a like down below. It helps us out. If you have any questions about Tech Tuesday, anything about fuel injection, anything about ACES EFI specifically, any of those, leave a comment down below, and we'll be happy to get to it in our next Tech Tuesday video. And if you have anybody or know anybody that is thinking about switching to fuel injection, send them our way. We'd love to answer their questions as well. But Tim, thanks again, as always, coming out to the studio to record another episode of Tech Tuesday. Yes. And guys, like always, we will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye now.